This was my first Sundance that I ever went to this year, and I had so many friends and people talking up this film, which was super exciting. This is very much in my lane, not just like the nature documentary kind of feel for it, but like it being centered on Sasquatch in general was exciting for me. I'm curious. I know the directors have they've been interested in Bigfoot and everything like that since they were children. I'm wondering for you all, what was your familiarity with Bigfoot legends and stuff like that before joining this film?
Yeah, as a kid, I loved the show Unsolved Mysteries, and I think I remember seeing Bigfoot on the Patterson Gimlin film was on that show, and I just got obsessed with it. I thought it was so fascinating, as a kid, and I always wanted to believe that it existed, especially when I went to the woods in Michigan and was just out there. Definitely was thinking about Sasquatch.
You all obviously have extensive experience with makeup and prosthetics and everything, but I'm wondering if you had ever done it to this kind of extent before, not just full body suit, full face, hair, and not just all that, but being outside and just shooting this thing for days in a row in the outdoors. What was that experience like, and what were the biggest challenges that came with that?
I've never experienced anything to this extent. I've worn prosthetics before, even one time, like many prosthetics for a week, to the point where my eyes were all covered. One eye was all covered, and sweat would gather on my eyelid, and we would have to poke a hole and squeeze the sweat out, which is something your viewers are going to love to think about. And that was so excruciating. And then nothing really could prepare me for this, which is just the makeup is so gorgeous and the costumes are so beautiful. But to make them look like that requires really a lot of us, which is that you have glue over every inch of your face, and then hair, and every muscle of your face has to be seen by an audience. And so it's the work is done with such meticulousness that you really are in this very tight specific thing all day. And it was really excruciating. And the thing that made it feel okay was that every scene in the movie we just absolutely loved. We all knew why every scene had to be in this movie, what it was doing, why it was really funny or sad or relatable or whatever. And so it got us through the day. My advice to actors is don't do a movie with prosthetics that you're kind of on the fence about.
That makes sense. I'm curious, you all had a good amount of time to rehearse and try to embody these creatures before you went out and actually shot the film. What changed the most, or maybe what surprised you the most, going from the rehearsals without the suits and the makeup and everything to actually getting there and being, was there anything where you had to be like, oh, I have to kind of change the way I've been thinking about this or doing this?
I think that I remember very clearly the moment that I went from rehearsing without a suit and putting the suit on, and I actually felt incredibly I was petrified, because I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna move in this thing. I felt really because we had done all this amazing movement. We had a movement coach, and we'd done all this work together, and we were not in our suits, and then we put them on, and it's every motion is hard, and so all the things that we kind of rehearsed were difficult, and things don't look the way you think they do. And so I remember having a little panic about it and feeling really stressed that it's kind of a similar thing to when you go from rehearsal and then you're on set. It's just a different thing, but this was kind of an extreme version of that where you just kind of had to relearn the way to do it when you're extremely uncomfortable, basically.
Now, I know this script, there's obviously no dialogue, but I had read that it was still pretty specific and motivations and choices, or, what is it that the characters were feeling in those moments. I'm wondering if there was still room for interpretation and choices, as the characters, even when the script was specific in what it wanted to do.
I think so. I think there was a lot, even when we were out in the wild, there isn't dialogue or language per se, but there's a ton of communication in this film. I think there's a lot of communication through body language, gestures, posturing, grunts, howls, barks. And we took a lot of time to find out what noises would be best fit in certain scenes and in certain situations. And there was a lot of on the fly, like collaboration and auditioning and testing things out and wanting to have these Sasquatches have the interactions that made the most sense for the moment. And I think that was one of the most fun things for me anyway, was to get on set and say, okay, is this a bark or a howl, or is this kind of like a lower pitch thing or a higher pitch thing, or how would playfulness be in certain moments? I love that.
Yeah, I also think we were able to like create their disposition totally, because the interactions were on the page, but their personalities weren't totally. So we did have freedom in creating that.
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing about the film to me is kind of the almost culture that they have, whether it's like banging with sticks on the trees, or for me the most interesting was the fact that they bury their dead, like just the fact they do that at all, and the way they go about doing that. Are you able to talk at all about what things like signaling on the trees or burying your dead, what those meant for the family?
I think we are.
Yeah, of course. Go, please. Or if you don't want to, I'll do an impression of you.
Sasquatch secrets.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, like these characters are living in nature, and they have a reverence for nature the way a creature who lives and relies on the natural world would have. It's juxtaposed a little bit in the movie with you see this encroaching human interaction. Like you see trees with kind of like marks as though they're about to be cut down, and you just see the way that these characters have a reverence and a messiness, but a familiarity with nature that their human counterparts just don't.